Chapter 11. A man wearing an obsidian mask to cover his eyes and half his face stood atop the once stone wall of the city of Fabarian overlooking the ruined capital of the Infernal Empire, which had now two active volcanoes continuously spewing lava and ashes. He glanced over his shoulder when he suddenly felt a familiar presence behind him. Seeing that it was one of the four imperial Iamissa, he withdrew his gaze and returned his attention to the burnt capital. Even without a response from her lordship, Iamissa reported in detail what had transpired in the empire's capital. After the destruction, the Flame Queen left with a descendant of Saphir, warlord Hakarin Adral. A disgust could be heard in her voice as she mentioned the mistress of flame. It seems that the infernal empire had been betrayed by their own, which is not surprising, to be honest. According to our spies, the two are now in the town of Adral together with the Nature Queen, Iamissa reported with a repulsed expression on her face. Death toll? The Lord asked after a little while. Nobody cared to count, but the estimate is hundreds of people, including soldiers. The lordship became silent and only spoke after a long silence. So the mistress of flame finally killed the humans she once adored. Aeamissa held back her scoff. They were betrayed after all. The Lord hummed and nodded. Have you seen the mistress of flame and her destruction? Yes. Can you defeat her one-on-one? Without missing a beat, Iamissa replied with unwavering confidence, yes, easy. Easy, huh? Yes, Iamissa confirmed it again. I saw her flame. She raised her hand the same moment a dark flame erupted around her hand. Compared to mine, hers is weak. Good. Iamissa's answer put the Grand Commander at ease. That's very good. What's the plan, my lord? Iamissa asked as she withdrew her dark flame from her hand. Let the whole Azatura know that one of the traitors, the Mistress of Flame, has escaped and mercilessly slaughtered thousands of humans for her amusement, and that they should rally their forces against her if they want to live freely. Also inform the kingdoms that we are willing to provide moonlight stones in exchange for a small amount for their cause. Under the obsidian mask, the lordship grinned maliciously. Make sure to destroy any remnants of the past and paint them as wretched villains. That's all they do. Iamissa couldn't help but muse. It's not like those other queens could win a fight against the four imperial. Iamissa couldn't hold it in anymore. She let her curiosity seep out. Is that all we're going to do, Grand Commander? They're not even a threat. I can easily kill that Flame Queen. A killing intent enough to suffocate Iamissa engulfed her knees buckled and her mouth clamped shut. Are you questioning my decision, Imperial Iamissa? And no, Iamissa immediately apologized with her head low. Fear was visible in every part of her being. That's not my intention, my lord. IW was just asking. Then don't ask stupid questions, he said before sending her on her way. Do as I say and go back to the citadel. Don't do anything unnecessary if you know what's good for you. A terror consumed her, knowing what her lordship meant about knowing what's good for her. Iamissa could only nod as she caught her breath after the Grand Commander had withdrawn his murderous aura. Why, yes, my lord. With lingering fear, Iamissa glanced at her lordship one last time before she left to do the task designated to her. As Iamissa's presence vanished, the lordship called out Telthe, one of the four imperial under him, to come to him. Moments later, the deafening sound of thunder and a burst of lightning flashed behind the man who did not even flinch and just waited silently for his summon to appear. Telthe was kingdoms away from him, but he expected her to heed his summon. Out of the four imperial, Telthe was the only one who could travel through air at the guise of thunder and lightning. At the center of the burst of lightning, sparks crawled on the ground as if ready to fry anyone. Telthay's calm voice was heard. "You called, my lord? Go visit the dragon's domain and find out what their ancient is planning," he ordered. He was seen leaving their domain after hundreds of years, just after the mistress of nature escaped the hallowed valley. That can't be a coincidence. Without questions asked, Telthay nodded. "As you command, my lord." Then another burst of lightning struck once again at the same spot earlier, and when the blinding light of lightning disappeared, Imperial Telthay vanished with it. And moments later, the man with an obsidian mask was also nowhere to be found. Gatriaexpramted on the soil from the barren land that she asked to be delivered to her room. It only took her a couple of trials and errors to find out that to restore the barren land, she needed to shed blood, her blood, and in large amounts, not just a few drops. She immediately stopped and did not push through with her research any further. Gatria could hear her soul roaring in refusal. She did not want to shed her blood for anyone else ever again unless it was for her own people. Her blood had already been drained and exploited enough. Calming her nerves from the result of her little research, Gatria leaned on the side of the wide window and looked outside the barren land. From here to the kingdom of Tredera is already a barren land. There was nothing to check at this point. She already had a tacit understanding of what was happening with the forests and the other vegetation in Azatura. Although she knew how to heal the barren land, she could not stay here and let her blood be exploited once again. She might entertain the idea of the good apples, but she couldn't make herself to have full faith in them. She had been betrayed once, and the kind of betrayal she experienced was not something she could easily forget and forgive. To her, humans and trust were not synonymous to each other. Taking a deep breath, Gatria stepped out of her room and went to look for Trevin. Following her essence from the vine armband she put on Trevin since they left Adral, she found her warlord friend on the wide balcony overlooking the close-to-ruin town. Sensing Gatria's presence, Trevin did not look at his side to confirm before he started talking. His tone and aura were different from the always complaining Trevin. Before you were rescued from the hallowed valley, this was still a bustling town. Who would have thought that in just a short amount of time, it'll turn into a barren land? Yet as hard as it was to continue living here, people still stayed. Trevin let out a cold chuckle. Really, familiarity is such a dangerous feeling. Gatria stared at Trevin before she looked at the infertile town. "You're going to scare the half-demon if you showed him this side of you." Trevin just let out a deep, low chuckle. After a little while of silence, he glanced at Gatria. "Need anything? How fast can we reach Ager?" The city of Ager was the kingdom of Tredera's capital. The sudden question surprised Trevin, but he still provided the answer. "Few days with Vago." That earned a nod from Gatria. "Let's leave early tomorrow." Trevin blinked at Gatria while trying to decipher what was on his friend's mind. "Did something happen? I thought we will be checking the forest and the other vegetation along the way." Gatria shook her head. Her eyes were clear of her intention as she replied to Trevin. "From here on, it'll be an infertile land toward Tretera. There's nothing to investigate anymore." After investigating the soil from the barren land, I now have an inkling of what is happening. I can't fix it alone. I need Enwin's aid, so it would be better to move forward than dawdle here. Then Gatria added, "Also, I want my war regalia back. That is the main reason why I want to go back to Tretera. Of course, my retribution comes second. War regalia." Trevin echoed, finally understanding why Gatria was adamant on going back to Tretera before going to Queen Enwin. It was not only to enact her retribution. Is it in the palace? I'm not certain, but King Turek believed so. Gatria exhaled. I'll feel it once I'm in Ager. Trevin nodded at Gatria. He knew how important the war regalia was to her. It was a gift from deity Nadi to the overseer of Azatura. Does Queen Solal know? Did you tell her? No, she'll be worried for sure. It's already enough that she helped free me. I will take care of my own things. It's my responsibility to keep the war regalia safe. Trevin sighed at Gatria's stubborn nature showing. Okay. We'll leave tomorrow morning. Seeing Trevin determined, Gatria teased him. You're really willing to leave the half-demon behind? Vago could only accommodate 2 riders. Trevin shrugged as if leaving the half-demon behind did not concern him, although the emotions in his eyes said otherwise. If we're meant to see each other again, then we will meet again. Egatria actually scoffed at Trevin's disingenuousness. After doting on that half-demon, you think I'll believe you? Trevin showed Gatria a gregarious smile. I may have doted on him and teased him from time to time, but I don't want to force myself on him. He's so innocent that I sometimes wonder if he really had a demon blood in him. Such innocence will break me, my queen. Gatria let out a short chuckle. You know, Trevin, if I have not been your friend for centuries, I would have believed you. Trevin beamed at her as if he was not a sly fox behind that big innocent smile. We have queens to free. My courtship can wait. Gatria stopped probing Trevin after hearing his earnest words and softly wrapped her arms around his waist from the side. Trevin's expression became gentle as he patted Gatria's back. Silly, you're my sworn little sister. Of course, I will put you first. Anyone who could see them from afar would think that they were in an intimate position, but to Gatria and Trevin, it was an embrace filled with gratitude and sincerity shared by 2 individuals who had known each other for a long time. Once this is over, I will help you with the half-demon, Gatria promised. Trevin let out a chuckle before nodding. Okay, that's a deal. Gatria nodded and stayed beside Trevin. After distressing for the past few days because of the barren land and reevaluating her responsibility as an overseer of Azatura, she felt calm at the moment. Maybe because it reminded her of the past when she and Trevin would talk for hours in her temple. Just small conversations and gossips. Those times were calm and peaceful. I missed it. Now that we're done talking about me and my non-existent love life, let's talk about you and that dragon. What is up with you two? Is any development I should know about? You have loosened up since we met him in Ashmire. Gatria clamped her mouth shut and let go of Trevin. I'm feeling a bit tired. I'm going back to my room now. Have a good rest, Trevin. And Trevin just narrowed his eyes at Gatria as she escaped his inquisitive gaze. Fortunately, Gatria made a great escape, only to come face to face with Drago, who was coming out of his room. Why do Her Highness looks like she was sneaking around? Drago teased her. Gatria immediately straightened her body and went back to having an elegant aura around her. I just finished my talk with Trevin and about to go back to my room. Drago was planning to tease Gatria again when Gatria suddenly informed him of the sudden changes of their plan. I'm leaving to Ager with Trevin tomorrow. Drago inwardly stiffened. Oh, Gatria felt like she needed to explain further and she unconsciously did so. It's all infertile land from here. There's no need to investigate anymore. I need to hurry and reach Ager, so we're leaving early tomorrow. Gatria didn't even know why she was explaining to this dragon, but here she was, explaining herself thoroughly. Vago can only accommodate 2 riders, so I'm planning on buying a horse for Grath. Gatria stopped explaining when she saw a frown on Drago's eyebrows. Who am I? That confused Gatria. Still, she answered Drago. And He urged her to continue. You're a dragon. Drago nodded at her with his chin as if telling her to take a hint, and she did. She just didn't think that he would be okay with it. You can give us a ride? She asked methodically. Not us, just you. Gatria's lips pressed together while looking at Drago, who offered her a ride, just her. Drago hurriedly added after Gatria's long silence, I'm bigger than Vago, and you can comfortably sit on my back. I'm faster too, so we'll reach Ager ahead of schedule. Gatria, who was deep in thought, blinked and decided not to think deeply about it since she didn't have the luxury to do so, really. It's best not to give meaning to this kind of things. Agreeing with herself, Gatria agreed to Drago's offer. Drago nodded, and Gatria excused herself. After she entered her room and closed the door, she stood there for quite a while before pulling herself together and recalling her meeting with Lord Hackerin and Solil about the Selim Kingdom. After I get my war regalia, I'll go get Astrid. She had already dawdled enough. Now that she knew the state of the forest and the other vegetation, it was time to go where Astrid was. With that in mind, she sat on the table on the far corner of the bedroom and took a parchment and a pen. Then she started writing. While that was happening in Gatria's room, Trevin, on the other hand, was outside the half-demon's warlord room. He didn't ask if he could step inside. Instead, right there and then, he explained the sudden change in the plan and why he couldn't take the half-demon in front of him with him. I can't travel with you anymore, Trevin nodded. My wyvern can only accommodate two, and we're a bit of in a hurry this time. Zerk nodded as if he understood the situation fully. Will I see you in Ager? Probably not, Trevin answered honestly and handed a map to Zerk. We will immediately leave the capital once we're done. Use this map to safely reach Ager. If you buy a horse, you will safely reach Ager in a few weeks. Zerk was silent. Trevin did not like the silence, so he smiled at the half-demon warlord and spoke lightly. If we're fated, we'll see each other again. Okay, Zerk's reply was short and emotionless as usual. Have a safe trip tomorrow. You too, Trevin responded, trying to keep it light and cheery before turning around to leave. At the same time, he lost his force enthusiasm. After a few steps, Trevin decided to hunt for a tavern to soothe his melancholic heart. Gatria, you better be nice to me, Trevin grumbled in his mind as he searched for a tavern. I just gave up on my handsome half-demon for you. You better treat me kindly and gently. If you treat me lightly, I will fucking complain every second and every minute. Trevin was still sober, but he was already complaining inwardly. Ah, fuck, who cares? I'm getting drunk tonight. Trevin announced, and then he continued his hunt for a good booze. Unfortunately, he was unlucky and couldn't find a decent tavern in this close-to-ruin town. Looking forlorn, he went back to the Count's residence and decided to sleep his melancholic heart off, hoping that when they reached Ager in a few days, he'd be able to enjoy a good booze. SDCLIBCC